Morning everyone, and welcome on board with myself, Scott, and I'm teamed up with Jean on camera. Great news, we're following some tracks of the Pride of Lion. We've just lost them, but I'm fairly certain they would have come out onto this road that we've just turned onto. They've been tending north and west. I'm not sure which pride it is. It looks like there's been a large male with them, just judging from the tracks, and also a few lioness. So it's going to be interesting to see who they are, but we need to find them first. So good to have you with us. Let's see what happens. It's quite difficult to see tracks at the moment because of the flat light. We need a bit of sunshine to help us. But I'm still feeling lucky. Tracks look very fresh. And I'm hoping to see one or two more tracks now. But this road is very difficult. We just moved across from Juma onto Arathusa, and I've been following the tracks since the start of the drive. Basically, we actually saw them on our way into work this morning initially, and then Brent and myself headed there, and he helped me in that. So he told me which direction they were heading in, and then I've kind of taken over the tracking, and he's moved off to follow up on some other lion tracks on Gowrie, Maine. So quite far from us, in all likelihood, the Styx Pride, which is some lion that he saw yesterday, a beautiful pride of lion with some little cubs. So good prospects there. One for you, but because the light is still so flat, it's going to be difficult. Also, this road that we're driving along is quite hard in places, so difficult to see the tracks, but they are here. You're just going to have to trust me, and they appear to be heading straight down this road. There's also an elephant that's moved down this road, so we could bump into either lion or elephant up ahead, who knows. Just to clarify, initially Brent and myself were looking for the same pride of lion, but we've now split up, and Brent is following up on all likelihood the Styx lion from yesterday, and we are following up, it looks like possibly a Matimba male, and I'm not sure who it could be, possibly some of the other Styx lioness. There's two groups of two lioness, but they did join up for the first time that we've seen yesterday. They were parts of the same pride initially, that is split up into different groups. It's fragmented, and that does happen occasionally with prides of lion. And they're part of the Styx breakaway pride. No. Haven't seen another track for a while, but like I say, we don't need to see every single individual footprint, and as long as we're heading in the general direction that this line appears to be moving in, we will hopefully catch up to them at some stage. Just an early reminder, it's fireside chat today, so looking forward to that. And every Sunday evening after, or for the last half an hour of the usual broadcast, we sit around the campfire and chat about the highlights of the week. We'll be showing you some short clips on those highlights and discussing them, and then also taking some time to answer your questions and chat with you. Chats about the highlights of the week. We'll be showing you some short clips on those highlights and discussing them, and then also taking some time to answer your questions and chat with you. Oh, this is my favorite. Please don't go anywhere, little Franklin. It's just up ahead, and they found breakfast early this morning. And some of you may think it won't be the most appetizing of breakfasts because they are digging through elephant dung, looking for little morsels. A combination of insects will be in there as well as vegetable matter that they can feed on. And isn't this interesting? Now, you would have heard me mention that they are Franklins, but it's been a while since I tested any of you on your skills, so why don't you let us know what kind of Franklin these are? Send your answers through to questions@wildearth.tv or simply hashtag SafariLive. And this is just a great example of everything is wasted in nature, and all of the animals will in which they'll find a really tasty nut that they can feed on. Take a closer look. I'm just going to be on the radio quickly. Go ahead. Not exactly sure what road I'm on now, but there were some tracks of at least one more daughter heading west of Power Lines Road on Vuyatela. So just kind of south of Sibambili Cutline. There was a Madora and also looked like some Mafazis. I wasn't looking too closely, I was just trying to follow. Copy, thanks very much. So come on then, send your answers through. This is an easy one. Well done to Georgian and Vancy. You are the first to send in your emails with the correct answer, the crested Franklin. And this has been a great little break that's allowed us to listen to any potential audio. As you noticed, I had a quick chat on the radio, and there is another vehicle who's coming into this area to lend us a hand, so that's great news. Teamwork. Out here to find animals, and if we were out here alone without radios, we wouldn't see nearly as many animals. So it's really important to chat on the radio and keep in touch with the guys, keep everyone updated, and that way share information that can hopefully lead to some exciting stuff. Sorry to chase you away from your breakfast, little Franklin, but it's not going anywhere, so you can come back once we've gone. I haven't seen a big male lion for quite some time now. I'm not as lucky as you guys who have the benefits of being able to chop between the two presenters. At the moment, it's Brent and myself on the ground. James is on leave in Russia, of all places. And we do have a new recruit coming to join us, which I'm really looking forward to. Her name is Jamie, and some of you may have met her on her interview drives. So we're going to have a lady on the team, which is going to be great. I just found tracks of some interesting friends of ours. So I'm just going to show you these tracks quickly. They're just... And it's difficult to see now because of the flat light, but take a closer look in here, and you'll slowly see some small pads and paw prints revealing themselves. They're coming towards us. You can see the toes in the front of the track and the pad at the back. These are leopard tracks, and it looks like it could very well be Shadow. I'm not sure if Sandila is with her, but it looks like he could be. I can see what looks to be two different sets of tracks here. It's difficult to tell, but I'm going to take a closer look, jump out the vehicle, establish what's going on, and we will send you across to Brent and see you a little bit later.
Good morning and welcome back. As you can see, we've got a nice young bull Ellie with us. Sorry about that, Ellie. I was on the radio. There was a report of wild dog tracks. Unfortunately, they've crossed out of our area, so I was in a little bit of a rush to get there. But it's brought us into the area, and we've got a nice little young Ellie bull in the sunrise. Oh, it sounds like there's a few more. I'm just going to keep quiet for a second to listen if I can hear where the others are. So I see here you were with Scott with some Franklin who are easing the leavings of an elephant. It sounds like there's a few more further to the north of us. Just hear sort of almost gunshot-like cracking of branches. He's probably in his early or late teens, early 20s. Looks like he's going to be a really nice big boy. So it looks like he's going to be a really, really nice big bull. He's got very, very nice, even tusks. And he's still quite young, so quite a bit of growing to do. He's going to be a nice big tusker one day. And he's very high in the shoulder already, even though he is quite young. You have a look, you can see that very high shoulder, and that's quite indicative of an animal that's going to get very large later in life. So he's still got quite a lot of filling out to do. And at the moment looks like he's feeding off little riccisus vines or bushman's grape, and he's fiddling between the dry grass to get that nice green succulent vine. Of trees and vines and other woody plants, and they do this because obviously the grass is quite dry, and during the summer months they'll feed mostly off grass, and you can see those nice even tusks. can see now where he's fiddling around. There's a little bit of green there. And those little woody vines and that he's picking up in between the grass. So he's probably about 5 foot from the front of the vehicle, and you can see he's paying no attention to us. And it's very important to read elephant behavior when you're with them, because they are such huge, powerful animals. And he's shown me no signs of aggression. He hasn't raised his head, hasn't shaken his head. His tail hasn't raised. His body language hasn't changed at all. So he's basically just ignoring us completely at the moment. Here we go. See how he's picking between the grass again, looking for those little succulent woody plants. Oh, it's quite a strong one. There we go. We're about to cross the road in front of us. Once I think he's finished with that. What is he eating there? That isn't a Rhesus vine. What has he got there? I'm not sure. Let me get my bino, see if I can identify what the plant he's eating. Oh, swallowed before I could get my binoculars out. I'm just trying to fix my binoculars. They seem to have had a little accident overnight. Then, obviously, we can't really see into that elephant's mouth to see the rest of his teeth, but they are there. And an elephant will have 6 sets of teeth during their life. I'm guessing he's probably on his... there we go. Probably on his 3rd or 4th set of teeth already. I'll just double check that. So basically, hello, big boy. You can see, again, I mean, we're very close to him, but you can see what I was talking about, that high shoulder. And he's going to be a very big elephant once he's about 30 years old. Another 10 or 15 years, he's going to be a monster. And that ivory will start thickening as well. So it's still quite thin at the moment, but it's slowly going to thicken and lengthen. So from what I can hear, I think I can hear another elephant bull off to our north. I don't think they're on the edge of a breeding herd. I think this is just 2 bulls. That's just from what I can hear. I could be completely wrong, but and we can hear that. Can't really see the other elephant. I can just hear the branches breaking. It is quite nice sometimes to spend time with just bulls. They're quite a lot less, a lot more relaxed than the breeding herds, and they move a little bit less, and they take their time while they're feeding. can see that nice skin. And there's the elephant's tail. And he's now even closer than he was before. And you can see how his tail stays relatively facet down, swinging. If he was upset, that tail would become quite erect and rigid. And that is one of the warning signs you look out for with elephants, that they are might be upset with you. Oh, off he goes. He's done feeding in that little area. Yeah, so as I was correct, he's on his 4th set of teeth. Let's try to see if we can see the other one now shortly. But he's on his 4th set of molars, and what happens with those teeth is they actually come from underneath in a rotation like this and out. And basically the thing that actually kills elephants is their lack of teeth when they get older. And they're able to chew up that really rough diet that they eat, and they lose condition quite quickly. And then from then they either die of starvation, sometimes they actually die from drowning, and they get too water but they're too weak to actually do anything, and their trunk falls into the water, or they get stuck in the mud during the dry season. And that's when they become targets for the predators. I'm just going to move a little bit so if we can see the other one, or reposition around this guy. He's in these terrible little thickets. So they get their first set of outside of baby teeth. Their first set of molars is at about a year. And then their second teeth come out almost immediately at 2 years. And then they come out quicker. Obviously, that's also with them growing. And once they've reached maturity, from around 28 years, they've only got that last 2 sets of teeth will last them through till the end of their life. Hassle them and bash through these little monkey oranges, and we're going to continue on to see what else we can find. Morning, Jennifer from Toronto and Jilly from Milwaukee. Welcome on the Sunrise Safari. It is, if you look carefully on most elephants, there is hair all over their bodies. The reason it was probably so pronounced is in the early morning light. Normally when you see them a bit later in the day, the daylight will help mask those hairs. But it is normal, and most elephants do have hairs. And when they're babies, you can actually see quite a lot more of the hair. Thanks very much for that, guys. Hi, Edward. Edward would like to know, or said when he's noticed those elephants using their trunks to pull out the plants between the grass species, he would like to know whether it's touch or scent. Edward, I'd say it's mostly scent. They've got an incredibly powerful sense of smell, and they're utilizing it there to find the plants that are sort of in good, or not good condition, but still hold quite a bit of moisture and nutrients. Thanks for that, Edward. Morning, Kathy from Memphis, Tennessee. Kathy would like to know, once an elephant bull mates with a female, will he stay with that breeding herd, or will he move away to a bachelor herd or off on his own? Well, Kathy, elephants, males do not spend a lot of time with breeding herds unless they are mating, the adult males that is. So generally they will mate and leave, and they could move 100 kilometers away. They have no active role in rearing of the elephant babies. So they are meandering philanderers. And the reason for this is it doesn't make sense for an elephant to be a monogamous animal. And the reason is that the way they move, they need to cover vast distances oh, look at that. Vast distances to find all their food. And obviously an elephant bull would want to spread as much of his genes as possible, so he will move between various herds of mates while he mates. So no, he will not stay with a specific breeding herd. You do find the bulls with the breeding herds from time to time, but that's generally when there's a female coming to estrus. But we've found something here quite interesting. Very smelly, but here is a leopard tortoise shell, and we can actually have a look. It's been opened up by something, and for once it looks relatively easy to determine who has opened it up. And there's still a bit of skin on the inside on the other side. So obviously the tortoise's shell is there to protect it from predators, but there are different predators that have developed ways of opening up tortoise shells. And as we can see here, you can see this has been broken. It looks like quite a distinct tooth mark. I'm trying to see if I can actually see a tooth mark. Sorry about that, Brian. Just trying to check carefully. There have been some rodents that have come and gnawed on the edges here, and that's to gain calcium. Obviously, this is bone. The carapace is made out of bone, so very heavy in calcium. And these little sort of armored plates are keratin, so like a toenail or a fingernail or hair. It makes up the plates, and that obviously is to make it a little bit more difficult for the predators to open it up. But I would say this guy has been opened up by either a lion or a hyena, something with a big, powerful jaw. I don't think it's been opened by something like a ground hornbill, which also eats tortoises. If it was a ground hornbill, you'll notice there's far more distinct sort of pecks because they'd hit it, and it wouldn't be such clean, sort of even breaks. This looks like it's been opened, bitten, possibly by a hyena or a lion. But very cool. Even tortoises' armored shell isn't enough to keep some of those predators out. Well, we're going to head off now towards our eastern boundary and see what else we can find. I heard a report of Mvula, who's a big male leopard, one of the dominant male leopards in our area, was possibly making his way towards this eastern boundary last night. So I'm going to go check for tracks, and we're going to go across to Scotty and see what he's been up to, and we'll be back with you a little later in the show.
Welcome back, everyone, and happy to hear that Brent's already tracked down an elephant bull for you, and sounds like you had an interesting discussion about the tortoise shell. Now, we have got some really, really mint, crisp, fresh tracks of Shadow and her cub. They've headed into a big, thick block to our left, and we are busy circling the perimeter of roads that encompass this block that they've headed into, in the hope that we will either find tracks crossing out, or equally be happy if we don't find any tracks crossing out, because then we'll know they are in here. The next problem will be trying to find them in this quite a large, big block of bush. It's quite thick, and it may require me to get off on foot, but it's still too soon to predict that. Let's continue down this road, checking carefully to see if the two of them don't cross over. And what a beautiful morning it is here. Now that the sun's finally popped up, it's making for a glorious morning here, and that's just in terms of scenery. For us, it's warming us up a little bit already, so probably in the next half an hour or so we'll be able to start peeling off some layers. I'm going to be driving slowly because there is a chance that they may cross straight over this road. I'm guessing that she could well have made a kill and be taking him back to that kill. So we just need to check very carefully on all these intersections to make sure that she hasn't in fact crossed through this area, which she has been heading in. She's been heading from our left kind of to our right in a southeasterly direction. I'm just going to jump off for a second and check this road junction carefully. Nothing to see down this road, and now we need to check this one. Okay, well, all clear here, so now we continue, and that's good. Even though we didn't find tracks, often tracking is more of a process of elimination rather than following each individual footprint. And now we have just clarified that they have yet to come here, so they could still be off into our left. And once we've checked this road carefully up to Knobthorn clearings, we will then know that they are in here somewhere, in all likelihood with the kill. Listen carefully. There's some hyena calling. I'm not sure if you could hear those hyena calling. They were off to the east, and it was a little bit far away, so you may have just faintly got that audio. Hard to tell what they are vocalizing about, but they're having some kind of a discussion. It wasn't a very excited call. If it was a laughing cackle, then that may have indicated to us that there's some action over there, but it was just their regular whooping, which is generally used for basic communications between clan members and other clans. It's something that I've yet to share with any of you, a live visual of rising. And it's really interesting to see how they lower their head and hold their head down as they whoop almost directly into the ground. The tricky thing that we face here, if she was heading directly back to a kill, she'll go on a direct path almost as the crow flies, and therefore not be on the roads unless they are heading in the specific direction that she wants to head in. So if she did cross over any of these roads, we'd only be left a few tracks to see. Thankfully, most of the roads we've been driving have been fairly easy to see. Quite fresh hyena track heading up in this way. So the hyena have caught wind of their kill. And this, at the moment, is all speculation that they've made a kill. It's not confirmed, but I'm feeling confident that they've been successful. At least Shadow's been successful. Now, the tricky part comes in because we've got to try and track them down. Well, we're going to continue snooping around this area, and I'm going to be required to get off the vehicle a few times just to possibly go into the block and have a snoop around in there. So we're going to send you across to Brent's, and we'll see you all a little bit later.
So Brian and I are doing a little bask while we're waiting for you. But we do have some good news. I'm going to show you what it is now. And it is really, really fresh by the looks of things. So it looks like my little information tip paid off. And let's have a look here. There we go. Let me close my door. So, over here, we have a really, really nice, fresh male leopard track. And the reason I can tell it's fresh is if I look a little bit further down, over here, and you look carefully around there, I can see a lot of other little tracks around. Over there, and those are little gerbils or mice or rodents that have come out during the night and in the early morning, and these leopard tracks are right on top, and they're really, really sharp edges and crisp, and they're fortunately coming from our eastern boundary down into our property at the moment. And if we look a little bit further, we can just see that these leopard tracks are on top of all the nocturnal tracks, as well as on top of the morning tracks, which is the doves and other little things like that. So, hopefully, he isn't too far down the road. I think it might be warm enough that I lose my blankie. I'm just going to check very carefully down this road. We don't want to lose these tracks in case this animal moves off, but the main spot to check will be down at this road where there's a junction, and there he's got 3 different choices to take, but you never know, he could be lying right next to us here somewhere. Hi, Meladia. Welcome on this sunrise safari. Meladia is interested in some botany, and Meladia would like to know whether catnip plant is present in the Kruger. Meladia, not to my knowledge. I'm not sure it even occurs in Africa, to be honest. But there are certain smells and stuff that certain cats like. Leopards and lions seem to be quite enamored with buffalo dung and hippo dung. They quite often like to roll in it. Where have you gone, Mr. Leopard? Let's check the junction up ahead. We're just trying to see if this track comes out. I didn't see a track there. So these junctions are very, very important in determining where they go. And at the moment, only Howard's tracks are present. And Brian can have a look there. Here we go. I'm just going to have a quick look around in front of the vehicle, and then I'll come back and show you what Howard's tracks look like. How's this one here? So there's a nice clear hyena print in this very soft, dusty sand. And you can see they don't have those three lobes like that a leopard has. Also, very distinct. They've got very skew paws. They never sort of seem to face the right direction. They're always at an angle while they're walking. And also, you see the very distinct little tips of the claws. So non-retractable claws, so always going to be visible on the tracks, even on the hard soil, but often then it'll just look like a little scrape like that. But here you can actually see the indentation of the claws. But the leopard has gone that way. But one of the most important things in track, different path I know that comes back to this road and heads towards the Buffelshoek waterhole. So I think I'm gonna second guess, because these tracks are probably from around sunrise this morning. So we're a few hours behind, or an hour or so behind. So time to do some jumping ahead. And if we don't get any luck jumping ahead, then we'll work our way back. And that should save us some time on the tracking. Morning, Benjamin, and Benjamin's got a tracking question. Benjamin would like to know whether leopards would look out for tracks, to know if there are other leopards nearby. Benjamin, they would rely far more on their sense of smell. So obviously when leopards urinate and whatnot, it's a scent mark and a sort of calling sign for that individual leopard. So the way a leopard's eyes work, there wouldn't actually be a hearing or sight even, rather than or sight. There he is. One of my favorite little birds in the bush. Very noisy little guys. You can see that white on his back. Oh, he's disappeared now. Little southern black tit. Nice thing about a southern black tit is it's an indicator species of bird parties. So where you have a southern black tit, you'll normally have quite a few other species around. I'm just going to reverse and have a look. It'll also give us a chance to listen, see if we can hear any alarm calls that might have spotted leopard we're tracking are on the left, right? Oh, she's being too quick. So when you're, oh, I can still hear him, but I can't see him. When you're bird watching, quite often, there we go, oh, there's a couple of species around here. You will often get mixed bird parties. And what this is a group of birds that feed off different parts of, or different things, but they travel together sometimes for safety. I'm not 100% sure, but you'll have up to like 7 or 8 species in these parties in this area. In like a rainforest party, you can have up to 40 different species. But I can see some scimitar bulls high up in the tree. Oh, it looks like a little... No problem. And there's a fork-tailed drongo. Just come up to the left a little bit. See that one there? Right on the edge. And oh. We can hear a little pearl-spotted eyelet. There's the scimitar bulls hopping around. We can hear some rattling testiculars calling. There's the rattling testicular. You can hear him. Beep, beep, beep. But you can see quite a lot. Unfortunately, it's quite difficult light there. But we've got scimitar bulls, drongos. There's a puffback shrike, chin spot batis, rattling testicular. There's a scimitar bull there. Oh. There's a scimitar bull and a fork-tailed drongo. The scimitar bulls have a scimitar-shaped bill, hence their name, and they are able to work that bill into little holes and crevices and under the bark to feed off different little larvae and whatnot that are there. And then what have we got up there? There we go, I think. Still that. No, it's just, oof, tiny. There's a little crombeck. A little long-billed crombeck. So how many species have we got here? Rattling testicular, southern black tit, common scimitar bull, fork-tailed drongo, long-billed crombeck, chin spot batis, and puffback shrike that I have seen so far. So 7, that's a really, really nice little bird group here. And you will often find a lot of these similar species traveling together. They are obviously feed off slightly different areas and whatnot, but they are almost all of those are insectivores. So they are feeding off insects and insect larvae, but they are feeding at sort of different trophic levels. So one is going under the bark, one is catching the ones that are dispersed. Oh, another one's at an aeromometer. Now there's a bird. What? Oh, let's see if we can find him. Not one we see very often, but also part of the bird parties, but quite a lot more shy. I'm just gonna, he's moving. There's a crombeck there as well. I don't want to move the vehicle. I'm hoping that they'll hop out into the open. In this little silver cluster leaf here, there's a yellow-breasted aeromometer and a long-billed crombeck. Both 2 tiny little birds, but very beautiful. Okay, there we go. Which one have we got there? That's the long-billed crombeck. Oop, very fast. Now, where is the yellow-bellied aeromometer? Come down a little bit there, fine. Something there. I'm not sure if it's there. There we go. To the left. Very pretty little bird, but tiny. And you can see, there we go, the yellow on the aeromometer. Come down next to us. Oh no, all fly past us. But anyway, that's great. So, I mean, we got up to 8 species. Oh, I opened it actually on the aeromometers, isn't that? Oh, I did, but then I lost. But isn't that great? So, nice to stop with a little bird party. It is much easier to see the bird parties in the dry season, obviously because a lot of the trees have lost their leaves. But it is a very, very, very interesting fact that all these different species, even though they're all insectivores, travel together, but they feed off, as I said, different trophic levels. And a trophic level is a different part of the system. So if we had to compare it to a herbivore, say let's take your spiral horned antelopes. Your bushbuck, being the smallest, feed at this trophic level, then Inyala feed at this trophic level, and then Kudu feed at that trophic level. Even though they're all browsers, they have a specific area that they feed off. So very interesting that even though all these species are after insects, they're after different insects that live in different niches. And that's why they are able to travel as a big group together. Okay. While we make our way towards Buffels Hook Waterhole to see if those tracks come out, we're going to cross over to Scotty and see what he's been up to, and hopefully he's had some luck on those tracks of Shadow and Sindile.
Welcome back. Sadly, no good news about Shadow and Sindile yet. They were last tracks we had were coming in towards this termite bound off a road junction. So what we're going to do is we're going to drive into the bush a little bit, stop and listen. I may possibly get off and do some short walks. It can be quite tricky and frustrating for Brent and myself. We can't leave the vehicle for too long, and that makes tracking on foot a little bit difficult. So I'm going to leave this fly on my nose because clearly it wants to spend a long time here, and maybe Jean-Andre can show you a closer look at it, because every time I try and swat it away, it comes back. And they're really interesting animals, these little flies. They play an important part of the ecosystem in breaking down any waste, and hopefully it's not doing that now, but there's only so long I can tolerate it walking around there. Thankfully, there's not as many flies as there used to be a few months ago. There used to be about 15 on my head at any given stage, and if they all moved simultaneously, the sense, it felt like it would almost shut your body down. You'd go into an uncontrollable shiver. Anyway, at least the flies are having a good time this morning, and maybe they'll help us locate the kill. When they leave my head, it may mean that there may be a kill nearby that they'd prefer to go and spend some time on. It's just so thick in here that she could be just about anywhere. There's leopard are here somewhere, but as you can see, it's very, very thick bush, which makes it difficult to drive through. But at least we are in the area, and there's certainly very good prospects. One way that you can find leopard on a kill is by stopping and listening on several occasions, and it's so exciting. You're hot on the track of fresh leopard tracks, and you can all of a sudden hear bones crunching, and then you know you found them. It's one of my favorite ways to locate leopard, and maybe this morning will be no difference. Obviously, they need to be feeding in order for you to hear the bones crushing, so your timing has to be good. You also have to be fairly close by and really have your ears tuned in. We're going to continue trying to weave away through this thick area in the hope that we miraculously stumble upon them.
Welcome back, guys. Just a really, really beautiful sight. We've got some male impala about to drink down here on the opposite side of Buffels Hook Waterhole. The leopard tracks have come down here, so we will have a look for them now. There's a nice South Africanism for you. Now, just now. A very South African thing, our concept of time. But just such nice, soft morning light on these male impala. You can see they're quite nervous around the edge of the water. And obviously that's because their heads are down. And there is a possibility of predators in the area. So very alert when they're at the water. So it's a little bachelor's group. These guys are about 2 years old, so they're not this year's babies, they're the year before's babies. And as you can see, their horns aren't fully developed yet. There were some males earlier that were adult males, and now that the rutting season's over, there's a lot less competition, so we'll start finding more bachelor groups and larger bachelor groups. So outside of the rutting season, male impala are not nearly as territorial, and they will happily intermingle with other males and spend more time away from the females. There we go. See, constantly lifting head, checking around. So we just got an update from our Zoomies that there's a hyena at the Djuma waterhole. Unfortunately, Scotty's on Arathusa and I'm at Buffalo's Hook. So I think if we had to rush all the way there, I think that hyena would be long gone before we got there, unfortunately. But thanks a lot for the update. We really do appreciate them. And you guys do help us find animals regularly with those updates from the waterhole cams. So watching where the other males have disappeared to, seem to have lost a bit of bravery that they're not such a big group anymore. Very, very still and calm here. And if you wouldn't believe me if I told you that there was a hippo here at the moment. Not sure which hippo it is because all we can see, is nothing. That little ripple was two little nostrils. We'll keep an eye out, see if he pops up again, but it could be a little while before he comes up for breath. Oh, the impala look like they're getting a little bit more brave. There's a slight breeze starting to pick up, which is still making it quite chilly, but I think it's going to be a gorgeous day. Beautiful, sunny winter's day for us here out in the African bush. So impala, one of the more interesting species around of the antelope. They are the most numerous antelope south of the Sahara. And they occur through a huge variety of habitats, all the way from the edges of the deserts and semi-deserts to the moist grasslands to high-veld grasslands, and from the southern tip of Africa all the way up into Ethiopia, Sudan, and across west into Western Africa. So huge distribution for the impala. And one of the reasons for this is because they're so adaptable. They are not bound to either grazing or browsing, so they can eat grass or leaves. So in dry season, they can make use of all available food sources. And one of the reasons they have remained unchanged for 1.6 million years, and they haven't evolved further. So impala skeletons from 1.6 million years ago would look exactly the same as today. And that's because they are such a successful species and very successful breeders. Even though they lose a fair number of babies, a lot make it through to adulthood, and they are by far the most numerous antelope we will see, especially in this area, but in a lot of other areas of Africa as well. From the open grasslands of the Serengeti to the arid bushveld of Namibia, you will find impala. Hi, Edward. Edward is wondering whether Bob is back or still missing. Edward, there is a hippo. Whether it's Bob or not, I cannot tell you. We're going to try keep an eye on that very calm-looking water and wait for him to pop his nostrils up again. We're not seeing much more than just nostrils of this hippo at the moment, so very difficult to determine whether it's Bob or George, or some other hippo. He's just popped his nostrils up. We'll wait a little bit longer. Hopefully he does it again. Literally just two tiny nostrils. Almost looks like the back of a terrapin popping up. What was that? So I'm just going to take my earpiece out for a second. I just want to listen. Hear a blacksmith plover, dink, dink, dink. But it is an absolutely gorgeous day so far. Hi, Gerry van der Walt. Morning, Gerry. Welcome on the Sunrise Safari. Gerry just says he loves the birds calling in the background, and we've got a little yellow-eyed canary making a lot of noise. I'm trying to listen to what else we've got. You can hear a starling somewhere. Sounds like a Birchall's. Tawny-flanked Prinia behind us. Quite a lot of little seed eaters making noise. And we're just waiting. And Brian's keeping a look over my shoulder there for those hippo nostrils. Not being very helpful today, but there's that blacksmith plover we heard ding, ding, dinging earlier. Quite far away, but running along the opposite bank. And that was in line with where that hippo disappeared, so hopefully, there we go. There we go. So very difficult to determine from that whether it's Bob, Bobette, or Princess Grace? Princess Daisy. And there we go, gone again. So the hippo is making it quite hard for us to identify it, but still really, really beautiful here at the Buffelshoek Waterhole this morning. We're going to continue on to see what else we can find. Those leopard tracks do come down this road and head on there. Unfortunately, it looks like they've been driven over already this morning, but we will try follow them out. Morning, Dave. Welcome again on this Sunrise Safari. Dave would like to know, are impala and gazelle the same animal? They are not. Impala are their own family. we don't get any real true gazelles in Southern Africa. The closest we have is the springbok, which is our national animal, and also the emblem that is on our national rugby team's jerseys, and they're also known as the Springboks. And it is a World Cup year, so fingers crossed that we're going to beat New Zealand, although I'm a little bit scared of the New Zealand side at the moment. But the gazelles seem to live in northern Tanzania upwards. The two most common gazelle are the Thompson's gazelle and the Grant's gazelle. And they move along with the wildebeest and the zebra in the Great Migration. There are quite a few different species of gazelle. Unfortunately, I don't have an East Africa book here with me, but there are specialized species that only live in the desert as well. So in Somalia and Chad, and even up into Morocco and whatnot, but they are really, really threatened by poaching and hunting. And there's said to be, in some of those desert gazelle species, less than a few hundred left in the whole world. And there are captive breeding programs all over the world to try help keep the genetics of those rare desert gazelles in check. Speaking about gazelles and disease and very rare things, there's a very interesting thing that's happening in Mongolia at the moment with the Saiga antelope. A very strange antelope. Once was probably one of the most numerous antelopes in the world, and somehow there's a disease that is running through them rampantly at the moment, and it is putting a lot of pressure on that population. I think it was something ridiculous, like 100,000 died within a week. And I haven't found any more information, but when you have a disease like that, it spreads through a big population so quickly. 140,000 have died so far. You have to wonder about their genetic variation. So generally, one of the most important things about genetics is that you will mate with another animal of the same species, obviously, that has different immunities to you, ensuring that your children have the best possible chance at having as many immunities as possible to diseases and little defects and things like that. That's why it's said that when people are attracted to each other, a lot of it is to do, from the genetic point of view, that you are picking up on a person who has the opposite immunities to you. So that could be a really interesting thing, and there's been quite a few studies done on it. I haven't read read up too much on it, but it is for me a very fascinating facet of animal and even human biology, and keeping the genetics. Hello, 1 second. Let's look at the track. But trying to keep the best possible genetic line, and obviously that's why inbreeding can be quite bad and can cause a lot of problems in a population. So back to the Saigers, because they are so cut off and developed in quite a unique area on those Mongolian plains and those huge grasslands of Central Asia, it is possible that they have been cut out from a lot of other stuff while they evolved, so they have a very small genetic platform, like cheetah, for example. And that is the reason why a disease might run through a population that quickly. So very interesting stuff, and I will definitely keep an eye out on what's happening with the Saigers as it goes on and unfolds, and more data and information becomes available. Susan's just saying that a Thompson's gazelle, from which you can find, has a white stripe down its side, and it is quite a lot physically smaller. And John is also saying, why don't we have Tommies, which is sorry, Natasha. And John is saying, why don't we have Tommies here? Is there not enough open grasslands? That is one of the reasons. Gazelles, apart from the springbok, have never really migrated this far down, and they even don't go as far as the Selous Game Reserve in Tanzania. They stick on those very open plains, or specifically Thompson's and Grant's gazelle. Tommies are quite a bit physically smaller than an impala. Grant's is a bit bigger, and they've got really impressive horns for a small antelope, but they've never really moved down. And one of the reasons is because they're so specialized to those open grasslands, and includes the desert gazelles and that haven't migrated down. And that's the reason the impala can inhabit that whole block, where a lot of animals can't, strangely enough. And that block is from sort of southern Tanzania through northern Mozambique, Malawi, a lot of Zambia, and then down, it sort of ends around the Zambezi River. And that is what you call the Miombo block, or the Brachystegia woodland block. It's one of the largest woodland areas in the world, but it's very, very beautiful, but it is on a type of soil that is not very good for grazing. So you've got this amazingly beautiful tall woodland that stretches for miles and miles and miles. I personally love Miombo, but it's really hard from an animal point of view. Your animal densities there are much lower, and the animals there are concentrated around the rivers and thickets. So your big grazing or grassland species tend to not be you find them either side. So a lot of Miombo woodland, there's no wildebeest. And you will have there's a nicer wildebeest that occurs in southern Tanzania and northern Mozambique, much physically smaller. The ones that have got the white little stripe, they've got a very interesting little chevron across their nose like a kudu. And then your giraffe as well, because apart from also those big trees and stuff, are not very good to eat from an animal point of view. So giraffe stop in northern Tanzania. There's a few in the Luangwa Valley called the Thornycroft's giraffe, and then they only again start on the Zambezi. So obviously at one time during our past, there was more open grasslands between all of this, but as the climate has changed and the earth has moved and whatnot, the middle section of Africa, or the middle eastern section of Africa, has become this Miombo or Brachystegia woodland, which is very bad for your sort of bulk grazers. Although you get a lot of buffalo and stuff, but they move vast distances. You never get those huge herds like you would, say, on the Okavango Delta or in Kruger. So the buffalo herds generally there are sort of the biggest one will be 400 or 500, and those will also be attached to the rivers. But very, very interesting that how different animal species have at some point in time crossed this, but now the two major boundaries that have sort of, and their physical boundaries as well, is the Zambezi River and the Rufiji River. And in between there, you have a lot of species that will occur to the north and to the south, but forget this big middle block. Black-backed jackal. Dik-dik is a very strange one. Kirk's dik-dik occurs in northern Namibia, Angola. The next place you see it is Tanzania, and there's this huge gap where they don't occur at all. And giraffe is another one. There are pockets of giraffe around, but really, really interesting. But which animals really, really thrive in that Miombo belt are your very specialist grazers, like sable and roan. And some of the rarer antelopes and eland also thrive in that climate. And even you will have lion and leopard and wild dog and puku and other strange things, but generally it's a much more closed environment, and you've got less mammal species or large mammal species in those areas, but you have far greater bird diversity. Miombo woodland, some of the greatest birding in Africa. You have a really amazing insect diversity and wildflower diversity. So it all depends. There's a little niche for everything out here. And that's what I love about Africa, and I love about the bush. That's why I can never really say, oh, that's my favorite, or that's my favorite, because there's so many amazing different places, and they're all amazing for different reasons. Sorry, I got a little bit carried away there, but I hope you guys enjoyed. Unfortunately, these leopard trucks are heading down into an area where we have some signal issues. So up here, I do apologize. Maybe we'll stick on the good road and we'll come back and check. Maybe this leopard's done a loop through. I refer to all hyenas as Howard. I have a cardboard cutout of a hyena that I got on a shoot. It's a photograph of mine that we printed out life size to do cognition tests on spotted hyenas when I was working with filming with Kevin Richardson, and I named that Howard. Howard Mnisi. Mnisi is the Shangaan word for hyena. So for me now, all hyenas are Howard Mnisi. Hi, Granny Billy Joe, who's asked a very, very interesting question about buffalo herds. So whether there's inoculation processes with buffalo to try to stop the spread of TB into felines and other animals. So we saw, if you're with us on that sunrise safari yesterday morning, we saw that monster herd of buffalo, and it was incredible. And we noticed that there were two buffalo cows that had telemetry collars on them, or radio collars, or let's have a look here. And what that is part of the Kruger bovine TB research project. So these buffalo herds will move in and out of Kruger, and they'll cover vast distances. And so basically what they've done with those is they've tried various inoculation processes, or not inoculation, because all the buffalo here are carriers. They've actually tried treatment to see if it is able to treat TB in buffalo in the wild. And that is an ongoing project, so there isn't any data available yet on whether it is successful or not. But I might get into a little trouble for this, but what I personally have noticed is, even in the last 10 years that I've been in and out of the Sabi Sands Game Reserve and the Lowveld, 10 years ago, everyone was highly stressed and highly worried about feline TB, or TB being transferred from buffalo to lions. And I've noticed that worry has definitely diminished, and it looks like the lions are starting to build natural immunities to it. You're not seeing as many emaciated, really sickly lions with those big TB growths. I mean, the growths are present, but the animals are still looking healthy. So I think nature's sort of sorting itself out there. And obviously in a 10-year window, it's very premature to start saying that. But I do believe that a lot of these things, we only get very worried about it because we notice it. And I think in a lot of cases, nature will actually sort itself out. And you might have found that there was a weak gene in the lions that was very prone to contracting TB, or contracting very bad TB, and now those animals have died, and the healthier, stronger animals have now gone on to survive. So it could be a bit of natural selection and evolution playing a part there. But obviously, as people, we like to know everything about everything, so sometimes we tend to overstudy and overthink certain problems. Oh, hello. Having a little word about them earlier today when we were talking about trophic levels. And actually we can move forward a little bit and we can actually have a look at a kudu feeding. So as we're talking about trophic levels, and for those of you who might have tuned in or a little late, trophic levels are the different levels of what animals feed at. So you can see that's a nice easy reach for that female kudu. Now that would be right at the top of an Inyala's trophic level. So Inyala would be full stretch to try feed there. What she heard. There we go. So that would be right at the top end of a male Inyala's trophic level. Now a female kudu at full stretch can probably go quite a bit higher than that. So that is how quite a bit of competition is ruled out between different animals that utilize the same resources. It's about who can graze the highest. Kudu are not as specific with their diet as well. They will move through a lot of open bushveld areas and wooded areas where the Nyala and bushbuck are definitely far more in competition because they tend to spend a lot more time around drainage lines. And there's actually quite a nice big group of kudu around us at the moment. Unfortunately, the bush is quite thick, but I can see 1, 2, 3. Oh no, is that a Nyala in the middle of the kudu? It is 2. So we have a Nyala about to come out in the open on the other side here, Brian. Cool. And hopefully we can have a look at her feeding, so we can also see the trophic level of the Nyala. And hopefully we get a nice picture of a female Nyala. Let me just move forward a skosh. So we've got a female Nyala, and I was hoping the female kudu would walk. You could actually see the size difference between them. So there's an adult, a big female Nyala, and if we go off to the left, there's a young female kudu, not even an adult female kudu. Oh, there's a baby female kudu, which is already bigger than the Nyala. So cousins, both under the same family, the traphilagids, the spiral-horned antelope, but competing at different trophic levels in the ecosystem. We can see, there we go. Now there's a young female kudu who's nearly double the size of that adult female Nyala, and a big female kudu will be triple the size. And you can see she's already reaching areas that a female Nyala wouldn't even dream of getting to, but possibly a male Nyala might just get to. So even that young female kudu we're looking at now is already much bigger than the adult male Nyala. There we go, there's the Nyala. You can see she's feeding quite a little bit lower. Although she looks like she's eating grass, she's not. I'm guessing she'd probably be eating one of those little vines, very similar to those ellies we saw this morning, what they were eating. We're going to leave these little guys and continue on. So just a quick update from Scotty. Scotty is on Arathusa and he's tracking really hard at the moment. So you're going to be stuck with me for a little longer. Hopefully his tracking comes to fruition a little later. So, interesting thing about this time of the year is a lot of the raptors have nests, and I do know where there's an African hawk eagle nest, so I think maybe let's go have a look to see if possibly those eggs have hatched, because I have seen the females sitting on those eggs, and let's go see if possibly there's a new addition to the African hawk eagle family on Djuma. Hi, Anna Marie. Welcome on the Sunrise Safari. Anna Marie is saying, well, we've seen leopard eat buffalo dung, but they don't seem to get TB like the lions. Anna Marie, I think they'd actually have to eat the flesh, or more particularly the lungs. I think it's held in the lungs. And and in the blood. But it is possible for a leopard to get TB as well. There might be an immunity to it in leopards. They might be carriers, and they don't show any symptoms. I do not know enough, but I will actually ask someone who knows all about this type of stuff, and he's head of the Panthera Leopard Project. Really, really great guy, so I'll pop him off an email today and see if he knows of any leopards being recorded with TB. But the reason leopards eat buffalo dung, and we have one of our viewers to thank for this, who researched this and found out for us, is that it is a probiotic. So if they're having stomach problems, they will eat buffalo dung to try get different bacteria and enzymes to help settle their stomach. I hope that helps, Anna-Marie. So I've been off the Game Drive radio for a little bit, so I'm just going to try see if there's been any updates while we've been talking about all sorts of nonsense. Stations, radio's been down for 15. Any updates for Weirton? Station controlling sighting off Rebecca's Road. He's coming. Thanks very much, Orbs. Yeah, I'm quite a long way out, but I'd like to make my way. I'm on Drakensberger, approaching Central. Orbs, just in case the Nkonzo of that Wanuna Ingwe went onto Nyala Road North, but Nyala Road North troopers our signal, so I didn't follow up further. And thanks very much for finding those animals. Okay. Oh, there's something out there. I wonder what it might be. Am I going to be driving wild dog speed? Or more sedate for a kitty cat? Decisions. Liz in Wisconsin said, does anyone know the name? Oh, hello. Some buffalo. Name of the animal that looks like a giraffe but has a short neck. And everyone is correct. So apparently there's a lot of discussion about it. It is an okapi. Okapi is the only relative of a giraffe. All other giraffe are conspecific, meaning that even though they might have different patterns and whatnot, they are all able to crossbreed. They actually are all the same species, it's just different color variations. There's a lot of scientists who would disagree on that and make a lot of noise, but that's because they like naming things. Hello, boys. So a nice little group of buffalo bulls. I'm going to start getting moving now as it gets warmer. Possibly move down towards the Djuma waterhole. And you might catch them on the Djuma Dam cam a little later today. But we've got places to be and things to see. So we might catch up with you guys a little bit later, buffaloes. So these old boys would have once been part of a big herd like we saw yesterday morning on the Sunrise Safari. And they are now past their breeding prime. And they've been pushed out of the herd by the younger, more virile males. And they have now sort of formed gentlemen's club, bachelor groups, where they go lie in the sauna / mud wallow and try avoid an inevitable end at the hands of the lions. And the reason they form bachelor groups as such is just that, to try make it a little bit more difficult for the lions to get hold of them. John in California. John would like me to just chat a little bit about some of the work we did with Kevin Richardson. Hi, John. Sure, no problem. When I stopped sort of guiding full-time at a lodge, I've done lots of different things, and really the thing that interested me the most was getting into the filming industry. And I've got a very good friend named Virginia, who works a lot with Kevin. She's a director, and I was pretty much green behind the ears in the film industry. I'd worked a little bit, but Virginia sort of and Kevin took me under their wing and let me work as basically what you would call a production or a location or production assistant and sort of second camera. So I basically ran around and helped as much as I could and did lots of funny things, and as well as operating a second camera when they needed two cameras for the shots. And but basically I was learning while I was there. So I learned a lot from Rian, who's the main cameraman who works with Kevin a lot, and from Virginia and from Kevin. But it was really, really fascinating. We were there during that filming of that sort of deadly predator challenge, which is seeing the difference in cognition and the ways different predators, specifically lions and hyenas, deal with problem solving, and whether can see in 2 dimensions or can differ between a cardboard cutout and a two-dimensional image and a non-two-dimensional image. So very, very interesting stuff. And then also was there when he or went along as a second camera when we filmed the removal of cataracts from a little lion cub that was rescued from Spain. It was used as basically a tourist. You could pose on the beach in Spain for a photograph with a lion cub. So there were 2 of them, and one of them from malnutrition had developed cataracts because they weren't being fed properly, and they often do this in the cub petting industry, and they're not fed properly to keep them small and more manageable. So obviously these cubs were about 6 months old, but they were sort of about 7-8 months old, but they're the size of sort of 4.5-5-month-old cub. So they've been kept small with malnutrition and things like that, and that often can cause cataracts in the big cats. So I was fortunate enough to actually be in theatre while they did that operation. So really, really amazing stuff, and I have a huge amount of respect for Kevin and what he does for lion conservation and for conservation in general. A really great guy. Speaking of lions, I wonder if we're going to see lions, or what do you think we're going to see, Brian? Because Brian doesn't know either, because the game drive's in my ear, not his.
Definitely not well done.
So while we're making our way towards this mystery predator, we're going to cross back to Scotty, see what he's been up to and how his tracking's been going on Arethusa.
Welcome back, and we did get a brief visual of Tingana. Sadly, though, we were in a very low-lying area and we did not have any broadcast signal there, so hugely disappointing. But what is interesting about what we saw, he was probably only 100 meters away from where we had the only visual so far on SafariLive of the Anderson male leopard. Now, they've been kind of moving in one another's territories. It appears that the Anderson male is pushing into Tingana's territory, and a bout of some sort between the two of them is probably imminent. They've been seen pacing up alongside one another, vocalizing, but have yet to be seen actually fighting. But it is something that could happen, and really interesting to be so close to where we did see the Anderson male when we did spend a few moments with Tingana earlier. So, interesting stuff happening there. We're here at the Arethusa waterhole. It's a very pretty sight, this, and a wonderful lodge to come and stay at, I guess. Imagine your rooms overlooking this pond, and if we look around, you'll see some hippo and all kinds of different animals bobbing about in the water. There's a few. They would have been out the whole evening, feeding on grass. Oh, are we going to see it doing the tail wagging defecation? I thought we were going to get lucky for a moment. There's a cute little baby there. Not the tiniest, but still a youngster hiding behind its mother. Sadly, we didn't have any luck with Shadow and Sindile. We're probably going to move slowly back into that area now. A good point that Jandre did alert me to is that even though we encompassed the entire block that they headed into with no tracks coming out, because the tracks were so fresh, they could have still been on their way through that block and may have crossed over. They aren't guaranteed to be in there. But I did spend some time on foot, stopping the vehicle, listening, a combination of the two, but sadly didn't have any luck. But we'll go back there now and see if we can't change that. Okay, well, let's carry on. Lisa, morning, and good to have you with us. Lisa would like to know if there's any ostrich in the Sabi Sands. I've only seen one in over 4 years of being here. It was a lone female. But interestingly enough, on the way back to the Manuleti Reserve, where we stay at the moment, we were heading back yesterday, I believe, and we saw another female giraffe on the border of Buffels Hook and the Manuleti. Sorry, not giraffe, ostrich. Both long necks, very different animals though. So there is a very slim chance that we will see one here. They really are such awesome animals, and they are actually huge. They're about 2 meters tall. So it's a very, very big bird, and when we did see them yesterday, or see that one yesterday, we remarked that imagine being one of the first settlers to arrive in Africa and see all these bizarre animals, these ginormous ostriches running around, giraffe, elephants. I mean, the list is never ending of bizarre animals that we do find out here. But the look on those people's faces must have been something else when they did come across them for the first time. And on that topic, imagine also being here when man had yet to ruin a lot of wilderness, when animals occurred throughout Africa, not just in reserves. It must have been an incredible adventure to move through these parts. Lots of fun, but I'm sure also lots of hardship. Got a comment through from Edward. He was surprised to hear me saying that we were about to get lucky seeing that hippo defecates. Dung goes flying everywhere, and it is something worth seeing if you haven't seen it before. So I was hoping to happen, and it was just the other day on Drive where we actually saw where a hippo had defecated and sprayed its dung all over a bush. Christine would like to know, which are the best parts of this job and the worst? Interesting question. Well, we'll start with the best parts. And obviously, driving around in an open vehicle with just a cameraman on the back with you is a privilege that not many people get, especially not many guides. And when we are not live, even though we're focusing on the task at hand, trying to find you more interesting stuff to talk about, we are just the two of us and have freedom to do whatever we like. Whereas when you've got guests on your vehicle, you never get that complete freedom to stop and do whatever you want to do. And understandably, it's not that we don't want to share important things with guests, but a lot of the guests that will come out on safari may only come once in their life, and therefore what they want to see on a safari is very different to what we would actually want to see on a safari, because they've got a short time constraint, they haven't seen things before, so a little bit of freedom between being live. And we've got a great crew, and the product that we have, having hundreds of people on the back of the vehicle with us at any given stage, is something that regular guides will not have at any stage. So we're very privileged with that, having lots of people on board with us, sending through questions, comments, and interacting. So people share their thoughts and ideas and questions with us is one of the major highlights for me. And the fact that it's happening live is just incredible. It really is an awesome concept, and very happy and proud to be a part of it. The negatives, like any bush job, I guess, are being away from friends and family for long periods of time, not having weekends. But on the flip side, the positive is we get a 2-week break every 6 weeks, which will total into 3 months of holiday a year, which is far more than most people on the planet. And we've got a really good crew at the moment, Christine, so we all have a lot of fun together, and there's a great vibe and atmosphere in the camp. So all of us are happy and enjoying being a part of this. One thing that I'm excited for, that is for us to go off and broadcast from different wilderness destinations. That's yet to happen since I've joined, but hopefully if you get more of your friends to watch and our following grows more and more, we may be able to take you to different parts of not only Africa, but the world. It's important to know that Africa is not the only place to go on safari. And imagine if we could take you down the Amazon on a boat, on a live cruise safari looking for jaguars, or through India looking for tigers. And those are all definitely possible, and something that I hope to be involved in if it ever gets to that stage. So spread the word. We need more people to watch. The more people that watch, the more places we can go to. Entirely sure, but interestingly, with insects, you sometimes find that hatchings only occur every few years, and some years you'll get more insects than others. That is something that I've noted with not just flies, but different insects that we get around. There's some tiny little stink bugs that don't come out every year, or they do, I guess, but in varying quantities. But when they are plaguing us, these tiny little stink bugs, you cannot get rid of them. They are everywhere. They fall in your food, you eat them, they fly into your mouth. They're a terror to have around. But thankfully, this year wasn't too bad and didn't see many of them at all, but the flies took their place. Possibly it was something to do with not as much rain that we usually get in our summer months. That is one possible variable that could have had an effect on the amounts of flies. But I don't sadly know the exact answer for you. So the last tracks we saw of Shadow and a cub were coming in towards this open clearing, and they would have in all likelihood veered straight through to the right of us. And that's where we drove off-road earlier in the hope that we may bump into them with a kill. But no luck, so we're just going to continue working this area and possibly approach into the block from a different angle. And while we do that, good news is Brent has found something. He didn't find what he was looking for, the leopard, but he's found something equally as awesome. So enjoy what he has found.
We're at the Spaghetti Junction. Welcome back, folks. As you can see, we are literally in the middle of a breeding herd of elephants, and there's some more about to cross in front of us. There we go. Seems like we're finding eddies all over the place today. Nice big herd. There's actually probably about 30 or 40 elephants in this area. There's a whole bunch more in the thick bush over there. They're moving through from the drainage line. Oh, that nice little boy there. Some very big females in this group. Very relaxed herd by the looks of things. Difficult to say which herd this is yet. As I said, the elephants move so much around here. There just seems to be more and more popping out of the bushes around us. Just give me 1 second. I'll show you on the radio. Aubrey, there's a very large Schammerven Love on Twin Dams at the Spaghetti Junction. So very different to the Ellie bulls we saw this morning. As you can see, a big herd like this has to keep moving constantly to feed themselves. With the Ellie bulls, just 2 of them, they can take their time a little bit more. Now let's have a look at this little guy to our left when this guy disappears behind the quarries. So just don't get a fright. There's a little dust spot on Brian's lens. There we go. There we go, little guys. So this cold wind is picking up. Hi, Marge from California. Marge says she's heard stories about locals to make bracelets. That is true, Marge. Elephant hair bracelets are something that are made quite commonly in Africa. And there we go. You can have a look from that. But unfortunately, the story of picking them is not so. In the rainforest, actually used to hunt elephants by sneaking up. And that's where that comes from. It has developed into a bit of a tourist thing at the moment. And majority of the elephant hair bracelets that you actually find are plastic. Elephant hair looks very, very similar to plastic. So traditionally, great hunters who have killed an elephant would have been allowed to wear elephant hair bracelets. But these days, most elephant hair bracelets are actually made of plastic and are produced for tourists. So she's making very short work of that buffalo thorn, and see how she's ripping off the bark layer, and she moves it around and around in her mouth, rotating it, using her molars to grind off the bark. And the reason that after the bark is that just under the bark, between the sort of woody stem and the bark, is a thing called the cambium layer. And the cambium layer is the section of a tree that moves the nutrients from the roots through to the rest of the tree. And she's even using that prehensile lip to try and grab that last little bit of bark and rip it off. And that tree she's feeding off at the moment is a buffalo thorn. Amazingly dexterous for such a big animal. here. She holds it in her trunk, in her tusks there, trying to reposition it into a position where she can get at. There we go. There's a little bit more bark left on the end. She's going to rotate that through, grinding it with her teeth to try and get that last little bit of cambium off that branch. You can actually hear her teeth. Might be a bit difficult for you guys with this strong wind we've got at the moment. Guys, nice. Always lovely to spend time with a breeding herd, but they are starting to move into a thicket, and obviously we don't want to put any pressure on them, especially with this strong wind we've got now. And we are still trying to make our way towards that sighting. So we're going to continue on now and try to get there. I got sidetracked twice on the way, and there we go. Elephant bottom to say goodbye. So I got sidetracked twice. I found some really nice fresh leopard tracks. It looks like a young male leopard that went into a drainage line. And I had some serious deja vu because where those tracks went off the road and where I followed them on foot was the first place I ever walked Kunyuma. So I had a little sort of maybe, but unfortunately those tracks went through the drainage line, and I just took...
Welcome back, and apologies for the crash cuts away from Brent and what sounds like a wonderful elephant sighting. So I'm sure he's just going to reposition the vehicle, get into a better spot, and hopefully you'll be back with him shortly. But for now, you're with me, and we are continuing on the search for Shadow and her cub. I think we're getting closer by checking more areas at least, and assuming that they have not moved through any other areas, so we're condensing the area that they should hopefully be in. I'm just going to jump out quickly and double check carefully this road junction to make sure that they didn't come through here. They were heading in this direction from about half a mile away. No luck. But like I've said before, when you don't find the tracks, it's not necessarily a bad thing, because it means that they haven't come here, hopefully. And that should mean that they're still somewhere on our right. So what I'm probably going to do is do another little short walk. I spent some time on foot in this block. But that's not to say that I checked the right places. But at least I know I have checked some areas, and now I can continue to try and check others.